Rudy Giuliani is the target of a number of different revelations coming out in some of these upcoming big political books. We'll turn now to Michael Wolff and his upcoming Landslide, the Final Days of the Trump Presidency. I read the name of the author because, as always, grain of salt there, evaluate these claims based on the sources that have been provided and who's coming up with it. But that said, there's a few different things about Giuliani that Michael Wolff is revealing, including this. Shortly after the November general election, Rudy Giuliani turned his focus to assembling a national legal team for then President Donald Trump's campaign, which obviously would drive quite a bit of news for several months as they traveled throughout the country, losing case after case after case after case, with the occasional break to fart COVID onto someone. But anyway, Giuliani, who was at that point Trump's personal lawyer, needed to bring together a national team in a day, with lawsuits set to go out after November 14th. There wasn't a lot of time between the election and when these court cases started. So initially, it got off to a rough start, with the former New York City mayor operating out of a conference room in the campaign's Virginia headquarters that was filled with trash. Michael Wolff says, quote, "The room had not been cleaned since election day, 11 days before. Refuse filled the trash cans and overflowed onto the floor. There was a heavy, sour or rotting smell, and the trash was a week-old buffalo chicken sandwich mixed with Giuliani's reliable farting." I actually hadn't read that part of the quote. Man, Michael Wolff is doing Rudy Giuliani dirty there. But look, I like the commitment to the bit. This is the least successful legal effort nationally in recent years. Why not start off in a disgusting, garbage-filled conference room, Dan?
Yeah, I very much come into this the same way you do, John, with like, okay, this is another Michael Wolff banger. I remember when Fire and Fury was treated by the political presses. Wow, I can't believe that these things we've basically been talking about Trump doing and being and acting as are actually written in this like scathing, hot book. And just like, okay, whatever, we'll be talking about admittedly more boring, but honestly more important things in the next 2 weeks anyways, as that moves on. But these give you really colorful details into things that we got little bits and glimpses of. You know, there's the whole the Four Seasons total landscaping thing that Giuliani's you end up getting, because it was very clear that the Trump campaign was a very slapdash operation at that point, as if it wasn't a slapdash operation in 2020 and 2016 beforehand that just won by a miracle there. But like it's with these Giuliani stories, you're kind of just getting a little bit more solidification of things you already know. And so I think it's important, John, to be like, you're not learning anything necessarily from Michael Wolff's book or these like specifically like particularly juicy sort of details. The big picture, the big thing you're learning, whether some of these details are like true or accurate or not, is that the idea of power and meritocracy that we have in this country, that is these are the best and the brightest, these are like clean, perfect people who know exactly what to do and are just thinking the boldest things. These are claims that they make themselves. No, these are just like a bunch of, honestly, a lot of bros who are just barely putting it together, flying by the seat of their pants, trying to make the big boss happy. And that's representative of a lot more of reality in this country in halls of power than a lot of the stories you get told in the world.
I think that is a great point. They did a worse job than normal hiding it day by day. I mean, that press conference, which you alluded to, is like the ultimate example of that. Their inability to put together like any legal argument that makes sense is another, despite having unlimited resources in terms of lawyers, in terms of money. They just couldn't do it. Look, the actual details about the garbage and stuff like that is disgusting. It's consistent with what we know about Giuliani. Like on a personal level, and again, maybe this is just me being soft-hearted or whatever, like it makes me really wonder why no one in his orbit, friends or family, is helping this guy out. I'm not talking about Trump, I'm talking about Rudy Giuliani. Like they describe him as being constantly drunk as he's doing this. Now, zooming out, like he's still my enemy because he's trying to take down democracy. But you would wonder, why isn't any one of the people, there's gotta be people who like him, why aren't they helping him? Like he's gallivanting around the country, drunk constantly, humiliating himself in pursuit of a wannabe tyrant's hold on power. Help him. Like I would help Dan if he started. When Dan starts doing that, I will help him because we're friends, okay? Anyway, it does get a little bit darker and substantive, if a little bit less Well, I don't want to say sexy when it's about rotting chicken sandwiches and him farting all the time. But anyway, it gets more substantive.
Not to kink shame.
No, totally not. If it's your thing, as it might have been for Ellis. Anyway, before the race was called in Michigan for Biden, we find out Rudy Giuliani wanted the former president to preemptively declare victory in the key swing state. It also apparently was true of Pennsylvania too. That was his advice. And so like through this, Giuliani had too much to drink, even in these meetings where he's trying to get Trump to declare victory. He's quoted as saying, "We've won, we need to declare victory. If we don't say we won, they will steal it from us. Look, we've won Michigan." You had, one of the aides pointedly saying that Trump had not won the state, that it hadn't been called yet. We have to say we won it, otherwise they will steal it. And one wonders if that is largely responsible for Trump taking that up as his thing. Trump is quoted as saying much the same, not here in the Michael Wolff book, but there's a Michael Bender book coming up, a Wall Street Journal journalist who says on the night of the election, this is how Trump was responding to it too. And partially because he has surrounded himself by lackeys who are repeating the same sorts of insane stuff. That said, Dan, I don't think you're gonna find much of that to be particularly surprising.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.